everyone. The great scholar Chanakya once said, government should collect tax from the citizens just like honeybees collecting nectar from the flowers. But is it the case always? No, right? Government incurs huge cost in collecting revenue, filling the loopholes and even the crackdowns in order to prevent the tax evasion avoidance because there is no so much tax culture in our country. As a citizen, we feel that there is no social security as we age, and education, medical facility, everything is so expensive. That's why we feel tax is an extra cost or it is a burden on us. And it is also true, on the other hand, that the government is a welfare state, and to discharge those subsidized schemes or any welfare functions, tax is a single source of the revenue for our government. Many times as a citizen, we do not understand what is expected of us, and it is also true that the government fails to understand and deliver what is due from it. That's why there are only 6 to 6.5% in whole 140 crore population in India who are the taxpayers. The tax base is so less. Unless this goes up, how the government can move towards implementing all welfare schemes? It's not possible, right? So in this video, let's see how a tiny country has gamified entire process. So the tax culture has increased and it also has boosted the tax revenue to that state. So please watch till the end, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. So, the story is about a tiny country, Taiwan, how it had moved from punishment-based to reward-based system in order to boost its tax revenue. Let me draw your attention to one more point here. In India, in 2022-23 budget, the government has declared that the highest source of revenue to the government is from indirect tax, that is GST, 7.8 lakhs crore. Next is from corporate tax with 7.2 lakhs crore, and from income tax, the last one is 7 lakhs crore. If you observe how it is in any developed country, it is not the case. They have highest revenue which comes from direct taxation. Why? Because there are many individuals, there are many corporates who are making lot of money. They earn huge amount of profit, so it is fine for them. So in a developing country, it doesn't happen like that. Usually, the indirect taxation itself is the highest tax for government because we do not have much people who are earning more income here. In India itself, there are only 40% people who are in gainful employment. What does that mean? There are many people, 60%, who are not even touching that 5 lakhs of exemption limit which is mentioned, right? So if this is the case, how government can widen the tax bracket and increase the tax revenue? So obviously, it has to increase the collection of indirect taxation, because how indirect taxation gets collected? At every point of consumption, whether it is rich or middle class or poor, whenever he consumes any product or service in an economy, he ends up paying tax. Whether it is right, fair, unfair, wrong, that is totally different point of discussion. But if you think at every point of consumption, the government is levying tax, right? That's how the indirect taxation is the highest source of revenue for developing country. And if the country has to move towards progression, there is no other alternative way till we widen the tax bracket of individuals, which also means that they should be able to get good job and they should be able to earn more, which is longer process for any developing country. The story is about Taiwan, a tiny country which did not have much tax revenue back in 1950. So they came with an excellent idea to boost their tax revenue, that is gamifying the whole process. How? The first step was to unify all the receipts which are issued whenever people are buying any services or products, and the platforms which are issuing these invoices into a central system. So what this process has done is, it has removed all intermediary, whether it is a person who will collect the tax and report it to the government, and again government will spend its time in verifying this transaction. No need. So whenever there is a purchase which is happening in an economy, there is a unique number which will be there in the invoice, which tracks this transaction and reports it to the central system which is established by the government. The second step is gamifying entire process. Here is where entire process gets very interesting. Government wanted the citizens to spend more and to demand receipt each time they spent. So they literally turned their bill or invoice into lottery. Yes. So the invoice became lottery, and the unique number which was there in the invoice, government used to select winners, 7 lucky winners. Every odd months in a year, citizens would retain the invoice and check whether they are lucky whenever the government has announced the winner. This process is called Uniform Invoice Lottery System. And this is double dhamaka for government. Just think, on one hand, government was successful in boosting consumption in an economy, and on the other hand, it has made entire tax collection very cost effective, simple and smooth process. If you see, in 1951 itself, Taiwan's government's tax collection has gone up by 75%. Imagine, it is 75%. No tax rate hike, no crackdown, just the magic of Uniform Invoice Lottery System. What could be the better return on investment for government for implementing such an innovative strategy, right? Just look at this table. There are going to be 7 winners in this lottery system. And in 2006, government even had increased the price. In 2022, the first winner had secured $330,000, which is around 2 crore 65 lakhs in Indian rupees. Yes. And recently, Taiwan government also had introduced electronic invoice, which had saved 80,000 trees as well as 250 million cost to the government. Looking at the success of this Taiwan, many European countries also have gamified the tax collection process. Malta, Slovakia, even Portugal in 2011, when it had reached the state of bankruptcy and it was forced to take bailout package from European Union, it really started thinking what are the ways to increase the tax revenue and to curb this kind of tax evasion, because it did not want to meet the fate of Greece. So even Portugal, they have come up with something called lucky receipt system, where when a citizen goes and buys anything, whether it is a beer or grocery item, he is going to get an invoice which has a unique number which tracks that transaction, and this invoice is turned into lottery. So the dream of winning the next Audi car always prompts him to demand invoice and to spend more. Now you may ask me, payment of tax is a civic duty. It is a moral responsibility of a citizen also. Why government has to turn it into gambling? Yes, if you think in that direction, it makes sense. But tell me, for any developing country, when there is a huge gap in understanding what is expected from a citizen and what are his duties and what is the duty of a government also, and both many times fail to deliver, how the gap can be bridged and how government can increase the tax revenue? Is there any alternative way? Let me tell you, from 2017 to 2022, the GST collection in absolute terms definitely had gone up from 7.2 trillion rupees to 90 billions. But in February 2023, when the government had done GST audits on a small base, that is 48,000 crores, it found out a hole in it, that is 22,000 crores tax evasion. So that had costed government, right? There can be many reasons, confusion regarding classification or input tax credit, but this hole definitely had costed government. Even the cracking down will involve some kind of cost. Let me also tell you, in countries like India, GST itself doesn't boost economy's growth. The growth will lead to higher collection of GST. So it is growth which will boost GST, and GST will not boost growth. Can government sustain same kind of higher tax collection in GST in future also? And now analyze the whole thing in the context of Taiwan's gamification process. What if there are some rolling rewards and the entire process is gamified in such a way that people are encouraged to spend and declare voluntarily, so government does not take much cost and headache in collecting tax revenue, and the entire tax process becomes so simple and cost effective? Do you think that such gamification will work in India also? Let me know your views in the comment section.